How you doing? This is Mark Carroll from Matterport. Today I'm going to talk to you about Matterport for mobile, which is a way to capture 3D data on Matterport's platform using solely a smartphone or a tablet, both Android and Apple iOS devices. The goal of capturing with a smartphone or a tablet is to gather 3D information using available tools. Sometimes the only available tool is that smartphone in your pocket. So Matterport provides the method for a person to use their smartphone to capture 3D data in the field. A wide variety of devices are able to be used to capture using Matterport's Capture app. The lowest level of resolution for using a smartphone or a tablet for Matterport for mobile is when a person uses it by hand, freehand, that they're not capturing using a tripod. They're just using their hand. The results of Matterport for mobile is based highly on how a person in the field captures. As I talk here and I breathe, my phone moves slightly up and down. And then if I start to rotate and I'm working to keep it in the same position, that phone has surely moved. And then I'm moving again, and this phone is moving. So the angle is changing as I move the phone around. The height is moving slightly, as well as side to side. How do I ensure a more accurate capture session? If you want to increase the accuracy of Matterport for mobile, you want to incorporate the use of a tripod. You have to have the phone on the same level the entire time. It cannot change in its pitch or angle as you're capturing. So what I'll do is I'll literally look at the ground and find a location. This type of thing is why one needs to use a tripod, but I'm going to use this version anyway, this first version. So as I'm going, I have to make sure that I replicate that same angle, and I'm looking down at the ground. And on my screen, it's starting to capture. Now, this is the device using LiDAR. This is not just imaging content. If you have a camera on your phone that does not have a LiDAR sensor, then you would have a faster capture snapping time. This is just with Matterport for mobile using LiDAR on iOS. And as you can see, my hand, I'm really trying to keep it steady. But it's never perfect because I'm subjectively moving my body around. And then on the top of the screen, where it meets the higher elevations of this room, there starts to get a gap or a separation in each of the 6 positions. Now, if you were using this with an older device, it would typically have more positions to land on. With this being a newer device with a wider angle lens, it's able to operate using less positions compared to an older device. So I can see on the screen that that first position has landed. So what I'll do is I'll count 1, 2, 3 paces away. I think 3 paces is a good first distance away. And I'll press it again on my screen. And it right away goes into the Capture apps version of this LiDAR output that has those dots on the screen. These don't pop up when you're using the Matterport Capture app that does not include LiDAR. You really got to make sure that you're landing on each position without moving your hand too much. Doesn't matter how hard I try, it's going to have some inaccuracies because of the way that I'm capturing without using a tripod. How can you reduce the inaccuracies in the data using Matterport for mobile? Use a tripod. The next step up would be a narrow tripod like this, or a monopod. It has a footing like that. in this setup that I built is just off the shelf stuff from something like a Best Buy or an online store. So these are not from Matterport, but these are components that I put together from the open market of products that are available. In order to start this, it's the same process with the handheld version, but here my camera and my device is a lot more steady. So it's capturing, but I'm reducing the inaccuracies because of the height consistency of this tripod. One of the conditions this tripod must meet is it should not have the angle change as I rotate, and I'm not raising the height or lowering the height of the tripod. You can see how this is similar to the handheld, but the accuracy is increased because of the consistent height and pitch angle of this setup. I recommend doing about 3 paces in the second position because the proximity to the first will help with alignment. There's a shift from side to side a little bit of the tripod. You can see this little warble. That's okay. It's not moving a ton like this side to side. You got to keep it nice and steady like that. Very basic components, but if anybody can assemble these parts from their own kit that they already own pieces, or they're able to, with a small investment, set up something like this. Now, the next level up would be a tripod like this. And why a person would use a different sort of tripod is in different terrain. Sometimes the ground is not flat like an office. And so when you have different heights of the ground or terrain, construction sites, or out in grass, things like that, or even just a sloped piece of someone's home, carpet that has very high shag and is very cushy, and this tripod on a very high carpet type of thing will not lay flat. It will have a slight angle. In order to make sure that you're able to adjust with the height of the ground and the terrain, it's best to use a tripod with 3 legs. You have to make sure that the top of this tripod, the 3-legged tripod, is always level. So what I keep, it's just a little bit overkill maybe, but after a while it really becomes valuable. It's just a simple level. So when I place it on there, I just make sure that that bubble level is flat and in both directions, side to side, and in this direction as well, because I want to make sure that when I rotate this device, it's totally level, because if it's not level, the accuracy and the output of this device will not be, sometimes it actually will not align because of the unevenness. It will not have that circle line up as it should. Capture with Matterport for mobile can be progressively improved by using different tools to accelerate and to improve the capture process with your smartphone. This process has started off with handheld capture, where your hand can move around subjectively. It went up to a nice tripod like this, but stays on one level and does not work as well in different terrain. The next level up was this 3-legged tripod in order to accommodate different types of terrain height. And then the last would be a dolly, the wheels on the bottom of this tripod, to facilitate moving it quickly without having to pick up the whole tripod and place it down. I'm now rolling it around. So starting off in that original handheld capture to this, you've increased your accuracy significantly by adding these tools together. This is Axis. Axis is a tool made by Matterport in order to facilitate Matterport for mobile. This setup is specifically designed for a smartphone handset. Axis is made up of a motor on the bottom section, which is this section here. And then on top, it has this clamp, this arm that will hold the device. It has an adjustable width that will allow it to fit various sized handsets. This motor is also connected through Bluetooth. So this will connect to your capture app and is coordinated while your smartphone captures in Matterport. This tripod is also a product of Matterport. It's a great new tool that comes along with the Axis, and it is a single monopod, but it is quite strong, and it is a branded piece. This comes along with the Axis when a person purchases it. This is a great tripod, but sometimes because of the terrain of a person's workspace in the field, the ground might be uneven. And so sometimes a tripod like this with the flat base does not always accommodate well in different types of ground, grass, different construction sites with uneven surfaces. So a user is able to take this off of this single skinny monopod and place it on top of a larger tripod like this, which is what I'll do right now. I switched it from this smaller, skinnier tripod to the larger tripod on the dolly. And always keep in mind that there is a conversion thread tool that you want to hold on to. This is built into the Axis as well. The Axis is now set up on this tripod, and the next step is to hook up your smartphone. Initially, a user would need to connect this Axis with the Bluetooth on this smartphone. I've already done that. That way, it will automatically detect the Axis when it's powered up. I suggest putting the smartphone in the Axis before turning the Axis on, because the Axis motor will move around while it's powered up. As I place this in, I will be aligning the wide angle lens in the center of each axis, both vertically and side to side. The wide angle lens on this device is this one that's set off to the side. I line this up with the center tightening position, as well as that lens lined up to the center of this circle. The reason I'm doing this is I want to have that wide angle lens in the direct center of the rotation as it goes around. You can see I've also set this up while the Axis was turned off. When you turn the Axis on, it will immediately return to 0 degrees. There is a graduated measurement scale on this circle of 360 degrees, and it will go to 0 degrees when I turn this on, and you'll see how it works. Right away, it's moved to 0 degrees, and I can see it moving slightly. Putting the smartphone in the clamp when it's powered on is a little more difficult, and it puts strain against the motor. So you can see as I move it, it'll go back to 0 degrees. No matter how it works, it'll return to 0 degrees. If I power it off, if you power it on again, it will go back to 0 degrees. In order to not put a strain on this motor, I suggest not pushing it while it's powered. Leave it to do its own work while the Axis is powered. Like I said before, I've already connected this smartphone to this Axis over Bluetooth. A person does not need to have active internet in order to work, just Bluetooth connected. The first thing that pops up is this menu that talks about angling your phone and positioning it properly. Make sure you follow all these instructions, because this is how it will accommodate you to get the best results possible. I'm clicking Get Started. It's at that 15-degree angle. And I want to make sure that that same circle is lined up with that sphere in the middle. But press Start. Now I don't touch it. You'll see what happens. It rotates by itself. This is a really, really, really great tool, because the subjectiveness of a person's hand has been removed, the up and down motion, as well as on the clamp before, I would literally move it myself and it would shake slightly, it would move around slightly. This is eliminating a lot of the things that made Matterport for mobile less accurate. Well, how long does it take for one rotation of axis? Let's find out. This is a very modest stopwatch, and we'll see right now how it goes. Last position after aligning. That's 45 seconds. Not as quick as the Pro 2 of 18 seconds, but it's pretty good. We'll give it another try. I'll reset the stopwatch. Processing, aligning. Just about 45 seconds. So I can say that right now, Axis takes about 45 seconds for one capture. But keep in mind that this device is also being captured using a LiDAR feature. A person is able to turn the LiDAR feature on and off, which will increase the speed of capture, but will reduce the accuracy. In order to give more insight on the capture process using the LiDAR feature of an iOS device or the image only data captured by a camera only, I'll now show some rotations of the Axis tool using Matterport for mobile, but not using the LiDAR feature on this handset. On the screen, I'm going to shift over to options. And from options, I'm able to do various options. I'm going to do simple scan, which is going to turn off the LiDAR feature, a single rotation. And I'll press this again. I'll restart and I'll reset this. I'll reset the stopwatch and we'll try it again. Processing, aligning. That's about 27 seconds. 18, 19 seconds longer per rotation to capture using the LiDAR feature. I'm going to keep the LiDAR feature on when I'm capturing because the time savings I'm going to get is not going to be more valuable than a more accurate result. Something else to note is a user's ability to get a full scan using multiple angles using this Axis tool. And I'll show you how that works. The same menu where I switched over to image only and turning off the LiDAR, I can also shift it so it captures in multiple views. The options click, and then from here, I'll say LiDAR complete scan. When I do the complete scan, you change the angle of the smartphone's capture in order to capture more angles of view. I'm adjusting the angle of the smartphone. This looks similar to the previous capture, method, but this will go through multiple rings. And in the middle of this rotation, I will adjust the smartphone and then continue it again. And I'll show you what I mean. This change of pitch in the middle of the rotation can be used in other capacity, like the smartphone capture using your hand or a narrower monopod. But when you transition from one to the other, it needs to be right on. And if it's not, the accuracy will be reduced. After one rotation, it asks me to change the angle aim. I'll do that now. Changing the angle. And once it's ready and lined up, I'll hit scan, start scan again. Two rings of rotation is what it takes. Now, this space has been captured in a more detailed way using the axis tool. The ability to change the angle so quickly and so easily using this graduated, measured clamp on the side, this closure piece, it really does help with the speed and the accuracy. In summary, we'll put it like this. Users are able to increase the accuracy of Matterport for mobile by employing different tools like tripods and clamps and systems and tools like Matterport's Axis that help to support, speed up, and make more consistent the results of Matterport for mobile. Matterport for mobile does not replace items like a Pro 2, but for the right use case, Matterport for mobile is a significantly powerful tool in the hands of workers and members of a team. This is Mark Carroll. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next session.